are going.
Yes.
And here we are.
Back again.
I just had an idea because your name is Ryan Nis, so the first three letters of your last name.
Yes.
But wouldn't it be cool if I put Rita Mons? Like the Fonz?
Yeah, that might be actually, if you're because you're talking about rebranding, your Twitter a little bit, like yeah, that might be a good thing to
Yeah, I'm just saying, is that because it doesn't matter either way. I did have the small business podcast, but now I'm looking to have one name.
I thought your name was Rita Monster.
That's what everybody thinks.
Yeah, I thought it was Rita Monster. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I read it, and it was Monsieur, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
I kind of wish it was Monster.
Because it's actually from when the Munster, remember that show, the Munsters, came over in the 1800s from Germany.
Oh, so you're a Munster.
Munster.
So you're
and then it went through a few machinations, but over the machinations lost the UE and went to Mon and then Sir. So people do think it's French because it doesn't have the T, right? And not a lot of consonants.
So it's actually... But
everyone reads it. So you go to a restaurant and it's like, who's the reservation under? Rita Monster. It's like you hear, table for four for Monster, Rita Monster. Or people don't see the T. And they'll say Monsieur.
You should go with the T. You should go. You should be Rita Monster.
No, but I definitely would love to. No, but in terms of branding, to do Monster branding. So they have the Monster drinks and stuff, but I would go like Monster business coaching.
Yeah, I'm a Monster coach.
I can even see visually.
I coach big.
Yeah, it's all in caps. The T's 3 times the size.
Like have you fighting Godzilla over a couple of skyscrapers?
That'd be good. Yeah, but we'd have No, I'd be more asteroids because me and the asteroids game.
What do you mean?
The Monster would be the actual, spaceship.
You'd be I just see you giant like a kaiju.
Would we
fighting giant robots?
Would we kind of put
Ultraman
in one of them? Matura.
Yeah.
Do that.
Rita Monster.
Right.
And like everybody pointing. You're like
right.
running through. Yeah, punching an asteroid as it comes into Earth.
Punching an asteroid. That'd be even cooler. I'll have to mention that to computer guys.
Punching an asteroid.
I'm so cool. I don't have to go with the. I'd be like, punch it. She's hitting asteroids with her fists.
Like, it could be like a meteor shower, and you're like running around, and you're like punching.
That is what the asteroids game is. Yeah. I know you're much younger than me, but that's what the original game is.
Well, but you're in a spaceship though, with asteroid. I'm just saying.
But, you're.
I'm just saying, giant you punching
real live asteroids coming
down to Earth. They're over the city, and you're like running around punching them out of the air.
So we've just spent a couple minutes talking about a brand, which I would have to add a letter to the name.
Yeah, Rita Monster.
Yeah.
Rita Monster kaiju brand.
What if that's but it's funny that that people see they always see the T. So a lot of times I'll say it's when they ask how do you pronounce the name, and I'll say it's Monster without the T.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the Monster, not Monster. But
yeah, my name is frequently mispronounced as well. It's,
I can see. It's like 18 syllables.
It's my Letterman jacket. Like my name started on my sleeve and went all the way across the other sleeve. But no, I was
thinking because I'm looking like Ryan Niz.
It's nice, but it's actually Nice Wonder.
Oh, see. So what would Mons be? I guess it would be Monster. No, I'd have to just do Monster. That's what I'll do next time. I will change it to Monster and see if anyone of the 3 people that watch this notice. Or
Monster.
Every time I do Zoom and my name comes up, I'll see if anybody notices it. Go,
yeah.
And then it'll mentally mess with them because they'll think, I've always thought it was Monster.
You were wanting to change it from Coach Rita to something else. So
Monster Rita. Monster Rita.
Monster Rita. Rita
How
Monster.
how professional is that?
Rita Monster, coach extraordinaire.
Rita Monster. She's gonna knock your problems out.
The the kaiju of business coaching.
That's so silly.
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome everybody to our podcast. We kind of just jumped right in. My name is Rita Monzer, without the T.
Longest intro ever.
And this is
I love it.
Ryan.
It's funny. Ryan.
In
Andrew
his
Nicewander.
Andrew Nicewander. See what I mean? Andrew Nicewander. That's 5 syllables between your middle name. That's 7 between your first and last name.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's a lot of syllables.
Syllables. So Ryan and I switched nights for taping. We were consistently taping on Saturday. And then one week I couldn't tape on Saturday, so we taped on Monday. And we said, you know what? Monday works good. Last Monday I canceled because
I'm okay with it. I was actually super tired. Like all
so it worked out well.
Yeah, so it actually taking the week off actually worked out really well for me because I was kind of tired. And so having the week to catch up was actually pretty good. But it is unfortunate that you weren't able to do it last week.
Right.
Because
and we weren't able to post. Oh, go ahead.
Well, because before we recorded, like I was going to tell you, like I finally finished the overlays for both 3 and 4 people.
So we are closing in and walking into August with having a guest.
Yeah. We can.
That makes me very happy.
I think we should fill it out and have a party for the first for the first one.
Like our grand opening guest party.
Yeah.
Well, how many should we have?
I think we should have 4 people. I think we should have 2 more.
Okay.
We'll figure that out. Like
that would be two guests.
2 surprise guests.
Okay,
they may
one's not going to be a surprise.
They'll be surprised because we won't tell them.
Well,
so they'll be like, wait, I'm a guest? What is this?
Wait, there's one person that we've talked about consistently for 15 shows that has to be the first guest because that's what we've been saying. And she happens to be our number 1 fan. And if all of a sudden
let's just keep it a surprise in case no one's heard it said before.
Okay.
We'll.
But she shouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden we say, why don't you join us on a Zoom call, but don't think it's going to be taped.
We can. She can be informed of it in person instead of hearing it on a.
Hearing it through the grapevine.
Yeah, instead of hearing it through the grapevine.
Did you get a big surprise?
Yeah,
for all the people that watch our show. That's right, she could hear it.
And so
but I didn't. So the fact that you didn't upload a video on Friday because we didn't have one.
Oh no! For like, because I uploaded the last thing that we recorded is up. But since we didn't, we will have missed a week. We took a week off.
Oh, okay. But so our millions and trillions of fans.
Yeah,
nobody was, breaking down the barricade.
They're in suspense.
Nobody even checked to see if we were still alive.
But yeah, it's okay. We're back we're back on track.
We're back on track and
moving forward.
We have a whole rebranding of my name. I don't think it's unless I changed my hair color, and I just don't think I look like a monster brand.
No.
So I'm kind of not.
But it does look fun.
It's funny. It does look
fun.
I could do it, yeah. But then it's something though that would be the one thing if I wanted to have a consistent thing that people remember me for. They would remember me for that.
It's easily memorable, like because it's your last name,
It is,
but with
it's
a
not.
T.
But it's right. It's like it's easy to remember your last name when it's not your last name. But yes, the play on words. But but I could see a marquee up in lights. Say they want to do the Rita and Ryan show at some venue somewhere, and we could put the T up there. But then people would go, well, "That's weird. Maybe it's not the real Rita. Maybe it's."
It's very. You want your name to be memorable and stand out, and it's easy to recognize. because I've
Yes,
failed.
but the thing is
I've
that
failed at naming myself stuff that's very easy to pronounce and memorable, and so
I think the one thing about you, because you think so that I think you think into. I used to do this too. I would know like the meaning behind something, and then it would take 20 minutes to explain to people,
yeah, oh yeah,
right?
like
So I can see
it.
setting the T
It
would go.
took
It's
me
not
a
my real name,
while to be, but with the T,
yeah.
it's very
Like play
self-explanatory.
nice. You go, oh, I totally get that. Play nice,
Yeah, it's
right?
although it does have a whole long story, because of the my knuckle tattoos.
Right.
The and I didn't realize this, but it fortunately works out. It didn't occur to me when I got the tattoos, but my last name is Nice Wonder, and
Right.
so it's kind of
Oh, you
punny.
didn't put it together.
No, I didn't. Paul, shout out to Paul. When I used to work at Guitar Center, he was one of the guitar instructors there, and
Mm-hmm.
he pointed it out. We were all hanging out after work one night, and he was like, "Oh yeah, man, this guy, he's got Play Nice on his knuckles, and his last name is Nice Wonder." He's like, "That's crazy," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I
I
totally meant
totally
to
meant
do."
that. Right.
And
That's
so
awesome.
it's amazing to me how much I don't have any more examples, but how much of
Mhm.
life, like coincidences, just sort of pile upon themselves to
It's unbelievable.
where you're
Mhm.
like, I guess it's sort of you know what
Well,
it
I think,
is.
right. I think too, I heard someone say something about how you go, why did I have to go through that? Right. Or why didn't a collaboration last with this group? And then you look, but even though you may be doing something 10 times better, but sometimes it's a matter of what did you learn with that? Or when we miss something. So say you start a group of people to work on a project and then it doesn't work out and the group disbands, which happens all the
Mhm.
time.
Oh yeah,
But then you think, but there's part of
I
it
mean,
that was
especially
so
in
awesome and so
entertainment,
amazing. Right.
you know.
Right. So, but then it was so awesome, entertaining. And then you realize that because along the way, maybe you didn't lose touch with everyone, or the connections you made while you were in that group, you had connections with, and then those people took you to the next place where you were going to go. But yeah, it's interesting. So sometimes I think
Mhm.
sometimes it's fate, but then it's just sometimes being present and then trying to learn and contribute as much as you possibly can, because that's the phase I'm going through. Is I've spent my whole life trying to plan the future, and I'm in this really weird, it's not weird, but it's just a space of going, I have no idea. I have
Yeah,
no idea whatever it is. So I want to do all these things, because you can find as many people to say, if you say, I've got this idea, it's different, it's kind of unique, I've got a different take on something, and you could find 50 people to tell you how amazing it is and how it'll work. And then another 50 people will say that's ridiculous and all the reasons why it wouldn't work. And so, but until I try something, and if it doesn't work, I can just go, okay, it didn't work. But I won't know that until, number one, I try it. But then I can't foresee the future. So now I'm thinking, if I feel passionate about something, if I want to try something, then I'm just going to do it until I decide, this is working, this isn't, or because again, along the way, it's whatever I'm doing is going to connect me to something better on the next thing, or I'm going to learn. Just like we talk about um, uh, working on creating a video series. Well, to just say, I just want to wake up one day with no experience in doing video and do it, and I've got this really great idea behind it, but I wouldn't have the courage to do something like that had I not had all this experience with doing this show, when we were on the Jean Core project, doing all the Zooms, like feeling good about being in front of a camera, talking without too many ums and likes, and being quick on my brain to be able to come up with conversation. So it's all related. It's like, why do you do that? Well, sometimes I don't know why I do certain things, but then just kind of saying yes to things, thinking the things that I'm doing today are definitely going to have a positive impact in the future, because there's going to be something I learned from it. That's kind of my thing, which
yeah,
is exciting, because that just sparks when you say, um, that like fate or coincidences and stuff. Sometimes I think when people say there's no coincidence, I always think, yeah, sometimes it doesn't make sense. But now I'm just in this place of I'm not even questioning it anymore. But it is trippy how I look back and go, that is so weird that's happening. Or this is
Yeah,
so weird.
I've
And
been
I
trying to figure
ponder for,
out
yeah.
I've been trying to figure out my next steps too. Like because the world has changed. Like it's weird.
Well, it changed.
Like the world has totally changed and the trajectory that I was on is no
Yeah.
longer I've
And
shifted a
yeah.
little bit because the world has changed, and so
Hmm.
I've been really trying to figure out what is next, and it's getting closer. Like I think I know, you
You're
know,
feeling it.
yeah, I getting more and more of a plan, like an actual plan. Um, I've been known to just uh, leap with no plan whatsoever. Like, I mean, that's how I ended up in
Yeah.
California. Like, I quit my job,
Hmm.
packed my car with what I could, sold everything else, and just drove out here. No job, no money, no
Right.
place to live. I just showed up. I'm not gonna do that next time. So,
You make a
yeah,
plan.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm making a
Well, there's yeah.
plan, and because I'm really thinking about Florida, and so I
Got it.
think I'm narrowing it down to like South Florida. Um, I because they're doing there's some productions down there. So there is a chance.
Nice.
So there is a chance I might not have to work at an Amazon factory for Doctor Evil. Um,
Well, the thing too is that one neat thing, an hour and a half, a year and a half of people being idle,
it
and then spending their time on the internet and utilizing their talent or whatever things, or to go like, hey, my company that I worked my fingers to the bone furloughed me, and that's not cool. And but they had to create something, and so I think that there's going to be sectors of business, from entertainment to dining to all different types of business, that the slate's been wiped clean on how we do things.
yeah,
And so there's going to
and
be a big opening for, hey, because you know what? When
well,
people who have lost everything or lost 80%, there's nowhere to go but up and new.
and
And so
it's so
it's going to be,
weird
yeah.
in Los Angeles, like right now. Like it's so weird, and with the way the entertainment industry is going, like a lot of productions are moving out. Like Atlanta is actually like if you're wanting to get into the entertainment industry, Atlanta might be the new major place. And then a lot of other stuff is happening kind of in South Florida. There's a lot more stuff popping up down there. But yeah, like so a lot of that stuff is leaving here, and it's just become very weird, and living in Los Angeles, like I don't really know how to gauge things because from what I hear from everyone else I talk to, and most of my friends don't live here, or most of the people I talk to, it's nothing like nothing like it is here. And so I'm just like, oh my god, am I like trapped in Bizarro world and everyone else is like kind of normal, but a little, they're like, oh yeah, it's a little weird, but for the most part it's kind of normal. And like we just got basically re-locked down again.
I know.
Like they reinstituted the mask mandate, and like it's
And I was in Nevada this weekend, and I went to visit my dad. I took my dad, and his wife out to dinner. And it was like, is as if nothing ever happened. And it's the same. I live in Northern California. Go into a restaurant or um, a store, and it's rare to even see someone with masks on. It's like people are like, huzzah, we're out, we're free. And people are, and even what I was surprised about in Nevada was we're used to almost every server or person behind the counter, even at Walmart, the grocery store, is wearing a mask. here in Northern California, but in Nevada it was optional. Some people did, some people didn't. So it's a really interesting time.
I actually don't think
And
it's a
then
bad idea for people that work with food to be wearing a mask.
yeah,
Like even with no
right.
pandemic, like
But it
that,
says
I don't
right,
think
is
it's.
that right?
You
And
wear
then again,
hairnets and
right,
shit.
right. And the thing is that um it's it's just it's just a weird look to go at, and we're talking they live on the Sparks Reno side of California, so we're talking like 30 minutes into past the California line. And so but LA has been so unique, but it's been unique from the
It's
very beginning.
well when the
And
mask mandate was lifted, like most people still wore it.
right.
Like very few like
Mhm.
I was like I would be one of the few people in the store
Right,
like walking around without it.
right.
And so
And I also think because LA, for people who don't live in California, is so dense. So like they started
there's
building in the middle, and it's so dense, right? So in
so
Northern
many
California
people
is
here.
really spread out. So I think today they just announced that federal and state workers, that if you aren't vaccinated, then you'll have to go in for multiple testing. Now the headlines say they're mandating that all federal and state workers get vaccinated, but if you read the small print, it means if you don't get vaccinated, you have to be tested often. So
Right.
they're not forcing people. So that's one thing. But then I'm thinking, the federal buildings in LA are all jammed and crammed together versus here the just the yeah, because they have a very small body of land that has like 11 million people in it. It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. And that's of course,
And oh man, and the homeless
yeah,
keep stacking up.
right.
Like
But I still go back to the very beginning of the virus, when it was in January. Reports were coming from the cruise boats, and it was Northern California,
oh
the
yeah,
military bases that
you
took the people in, right?
guys got stuck with all
We
the
took
cruise
people in.
ships.
Well, so there was more news about it here, and then they were saying, listen, we're having the people in the Pacific Northwest, Washington, Oregon had a couple of cases, and then they said Silicon Valley. So the Bay Area was kind of on alert. This was the So the next thing that happened was my dad, who has lung compromised issues at his age, his doctor sent a note to say, you may have heard about this. This is what we know right now, which is older people, especially with lung issues, need to stay home, and anybody around needs to be incredibly careful because we're finding it's very, very deadly for older people from the very beginning. So that's when I thought the world was normal. When it's like, because something like that's happening very slowly, you're going, okay, we're starting to slowly find out. It's now the next thing is the immune compromised people. Okay, we're slowly finding. And then when they started shutting things down in March, okay, so my thing with LA was, we're going like, okay, we'll do our part. It was the second week in March, because my county got shut down the very first of all in California. But
Yeah, we got to
yeah,
go till the end of March before it got.
the end of March. And so
Yeah.
here I'm sitting here going, we're more spread out, and we were hit more restrictive just based on a couple things. And what I was seeing that
I
there was
just
a big
signed
story.
a lease to my apartment.
Oh my gosh.
Like right when it started, and then like I just signed the lease, and then the end of
Right.
March, I get laid off, and I'm like, fuck.
Right. But my detective brain, because they started saying, because they were, by February they were talking about no large gatherings. Please, people, be careful, because we were hearing more stuff coming from New York, and they kept talking about cloistered areas where people were in. And so then, of course, the subways, and we don't have that kind of transit here in Northern California. We've got BART, but people don't do it.
We
not
have
hundreds of
our
millions of people a day.
subways. Our subways not much. Like
Right.
it's small.
It's a tram. so the thing is that
no,
all of a
we
sudden,
have a couple.
right,
Like there's the actual red line.
Right.
Like it's just, but it's just like and it goes to. We have two different sets of subway
right,
tracks, but yes, there are a lot of trams like above ground
Yeah, and we have them too, but ours
stuff.
versus New York, I think I read we have at max capacity throughout the Bay Area, 60,000 people a day versus, and I mean, I think millions of people get on the subway in New York. I think it's that. I mean, that may
Yeah, I
be way
think
too
so.
much, but but because but the island of New York is a small place with a lot of people in it. And then especially Manhattan is very, very condensed, anyway. So, but I remember thinking when they were celebrating, this was at the end of February or the beginning of February, what they were talking about here in Northern California was, please try not to do large groups. We're really looking at that. That's what our Alameda County group, our health department was saying. And then I was seeing the big celebration for the LA marathon, which brings people from all over the world, hundreds of thousands of people. And I thought, that's interesting. I wonder why and then the mayor of Los Angeles was asked, isn't this a little unsafe at this time? Because there's still so many unknowns, especially with the cruise ships, especially when they're finding out people in small spaces. And they said, no, we're going to push through because we're strong. And then fast forward, LA seems to be, and I'm not saying that was some big super spreader event. I'm just saying that that was a perfect petri dish for the virus to draw in so many people in a really dense area. Again, I'm just going off of like my brain and what I observe. But I also think because we've got our San Francisco Chronicle here has a monitor when they talk about, here's all of California, here's Northern California's rate of infections and deaths, and then here's Southern California, and you're like, holy Toledo. Because my curiosity keeps saying, is it possible that just the actual demographic of Los Angeles, because it's so tightly close, has that made the difference between that and Northern California? I don't know. I mean, we have like in my county, I think they said 7 million people. It covers a huge amount of territory compared to, a quarter of that in LA with 11 million people. It's just amazing, but we will never know.
Yeah, I won't.
And we have to live, but it's interesting. And then it's also interesting. And my only political thing that I will say on the subject is, I really hope people talk to their medical provider for the best way and their course for handling the virus. And that's the end of my PSA. Because a politician, and that's kind of the outside noise, is that politicians, while they want to help us, it's just I have gotten more. Well, I will say for me personally, I've gotten more complete information from my medical provider and my doctor than anything I've seen from the county.
Talk to your doctors, kids. Talk to your doctors.
Yes, and your doctor, and if you don't have a doctor, you can get a doctor in California.
Google it.
Google it.
Go to WebMD. If you don't have a doctor, go to WebMD.
Be free. Make any choice you want to make for yourself. I'm totally for that. But if you really, really, truly want to know about the complexity of a virus in real time, which means we don't know everything yet, it's going to take a long time. See what your medical provider, and if your medical provider, if you feel that they are being somehow influenced by something, then keep searching. There's a great reference here in the Bay Area. UCSF has been tracking this since the very beginning, their medical facility, and they have a great website talking about a lot of really just common sense things, and they've got a great FAQ. May not make you make any decisions, but it has to be personal. I don't understand the whole tribe thing. Is that, again, my thing would be protecting people around me who are old and immune compromised, and then keep moving outside my circle. And then that's all I have to say about that. I make no recommendations other than for myself. How about you, Ryan?
Cool. No, I want to get off the topic.
Let's get political.
To the let's
No,
in
not
other
getting political.
in other news.
In other news,
There's
wait, this is a big news. This is a big current event news for us. Half of us. I thought you'd find this funny. So this morning I'm tooling around and I'm looking up something on Google about the weather because it seemed very humid here in my little town. Weather, I go, instead of my town, it went weather California. And there were reports, it rained in Los Angeles today.
Yep.
It rained in Los Angeles, but this is the funny part of
rain. Calling it rain is generous.
Okay. So
But
this was funny.
Like it sprinkled.
So a little bit later in the morning, I go on Twitter and I check the trends and I see a little trend that says raining. So I click on it and it's like people posting pictures from Los Angeles of it raining outside. And it cracked me up because I thought we are the only state that would be considered news. Not only news, but it would be trending news. The fact that we had 20 minutes of rain.
Yep. It is yeah.
We don't know what to do. I know. I was going to do something, and then I thought, no, don't be snarky. I was going to do something. You know how they say, there's 10 feet of snow, Martha. I'm going to try and plow out and get to you as soon as I can. Try to do we're going to have to go to Costco, get our rations in case we're going to be locked up because nobody can drive well. I don't want to say nobody.
I'm glad it wasn't a long rain because no one here can drive in the rain, and I need new tires. But we know one thing is they can do, right? They can ride their brake through for at least 40, 50 miles at a time. That's what I found. I was driving in LA and it started to rain, and it's already tremendous traffic, but we're going 20 miles an hour because everybody was riding their brake. The whole thing is that thinking, stop, start. Because it's LA, it's worse because it does rain in Northern California. It's all stop, start. Everybody. Oh, man. You have to get anywhere on time, you have to drive like a psychopath.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of getting tired of driving. Like, I can drive like that. Like, I have the skills. My vehicle is maneuverable enough.
Maybe you should take the name Monster. Ryan, Monster Driver.
Yeah. It's, oh, man, I will get out and fight somebody.
Oh, great.
Ryan,
Road Rage Monster. Monster Road Rage. Ryan Road Rage. Don't do that.
No, but if someone, like, I might be stupid enough to to get out of the car.
So, but for current events, it rained in Southern California. And then there was a big article today, keeping with California, big article today about Gavin Newsom going and doing all of these talks about we're going to curb the crime in San Francisco. We're going to
guy.
Because I guess a ton of people who've been unemployed for a very long time still haven't received benefits. While after California was the state that had the number one amount of fraud. And so that's another, he went and did a big thing about how we're going to curb. Now they're going to electronically pay people directly, on and on. So all these key points. And so someone wrote an article to say there's a fine line.
Recalled.
Right. Well, he's being recalled, but I thought it was interesting for a California newspaper to say, these aren't, I'm going out working for the people. These are campaign rallies that the taxpayers are paying for. I thought that was very interesting. I'm thinking Gavin ain't getting no love. And I guess he's down in the polls. They said people. So because of course, if people laugh at Californians because we're going to see a lot of little cuckoo crazy stuff on the ballots because that's who Californians are.
Caitlyn Jenner.
No, well, Caitlyn Jenner's, but but we're talking.
Caitlyn might miss it because she is going to be in Australia filming Big Brother.
You're kidding? I didn't know that.
Nope. Apparently that was I don't remember where I saw that, but it was on some news thing where they were talking about Caitlyn, how her run for governor may be disingenuous because she's going to be in
Oh,
Australia filming Big Brother or something like that for
it's
a
gonna
good
be
part of the
right.
election.
But as we know with show people, it's got to be one or the other. One is promoting the other. So as long as she stays, so it just keeps her in the news,
Yeah.
right? So
It
that's the cold hard facts is I don't know.
the
I don't follow it purposely
I'm glad I'm not in
because
the news.
yeah, well,
You know?
the
I don't
right,
want
but
to like even for good fun stuff, like it eventually turns into something bad or dumb or whatever. So I'm
the
glad to stay
yeah,
out of the news.
I'm really really interested in how it's all gonna suss out. I read an article saying that there's a couple online magazines that have their sales have plummeted
Oh yeah.
in the last 2 years, and because
Well,
their
and
viewership, because there's no more clickbaity stuff because nobody cares.
yeah, and they were all like donor I forget what it's called, like not hedge
Oh,
fund,
hedge fundy.
not
Oh,
like
like
kind of
yeah.
like they had donors and backers to support the company,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of those news and websites, and they just aren't making any money. And so now that they're not receiving the funds or as much of them, they're having to kind of shut down and or just make everything clickbaity and it.
Well, what's interesting is that I was so far removed from TV politics, this drama until Trump won because I couldn't believe it. That was the ultimate reality show because
Yeah, it was so weird.
I never thought someone could break the Washington D.C. hierarchy and of politics. So when saw that, I thought something
I don't
happened
know.
in the
He's not that
Matrix.
much different than Ronald Reagan, really. Like Ronald Reagan was an actor.
Right, but how many years ago was that? That was 40 years ago. Right. So I'm talking kind of about
Sure,
the
I guess.
political machine,
Yeah.
the political machine.
It's been a
So
while since we had an actor in the office, so it's about time they put one in.
right, but it things have been we're so buttoned up between the media and well, so anyway, what I learned watching the Trump from a very objective point of view, I had no fight in the game. I was watching it just from a wow, that's really interesting.
Oh yeah,
These
I
jerk,
like cuz I don't
right,
vote, like I'm
right.
apolitical, like I don't so it was very interesting for me on the back end to just like sit back and watch this disaster because I didn't like Hillary Clinton. I don't like Donald Trump. Like I didn't like either one of them, but the whole thing was
Well,
interesting and
yeah,
watching
right,
people react, like
right.
watching the like. Oh man,
Well, the thing too that makes me nutty
it was interesting.
is that yes, but the kind of what the monster that's being created is that the president in the United States does not run every part of the government. That's the whole point of our government.
Yeah,
Is that right? And so, but they elevate the president to such prestige,
I
and
don't even
then
feel like they really run anything.
they're
Like
supposed to run the military. That's their job, commander in chief.
the
Supposed to run the military, but
I think it's
then
all fake.
but I'm saying is that so to give the provenance, and then you got so why aren't we screaming and yelling about the Congress and the Congress is making the laws? Then we've got the Supreme Court, right? So it's like there's all these different
It's because the
entities
general public is uneducated on how the political system
and
actually works, and so they don't
so
really know who to be mad at, and all they do is listen to whatever news source that they listen to, and so it's just like
but
because
I will
people
say right
don't
and that right
actually look for themselves, they just take whatever is presented in front of them and go with that instead
Tina,
of
and here's my theory.
seeing all
I
sides
think
through.
I can see that. I can totally see that. Especially for people who because I think in the mid 80s was the last work. And when I went to high school, you were required to take 2 semesters your senior year of political science. You just were. So, and then you took civics throughout school. So you kind of understood just the basic structure of government. Now they don't,
I had to
they did,
take it, but I don't remember really anything from it. I barely
but
paid it. I
right.
just paid attention long enough to pass the test.
But I watched it from the point of view that I remember seeing an article that said this is when C-SPAN, well, C-SPAN was the start of it, right? On cable, watching Congress and the Senate. That's what C-SPAN does. It sets a camera up in the Congress and Senate and watch them do all this boring, laws and filibusters and
not
stuff.
interested in that at all.
No, but what happens is, if you just look kind of at the history, again, this is just my opinion, but someone wrote this great article that says the worst thing you could have done is put a camera, because all of these no anonymous people representing different states, now all of a sudden they've got a publicist, they have a manager, they have somebody that is doing their color coding for their suits, because they said, a year before C-SPAN came in, they were wearing their overalls, they're from Iowa. Now they're in $1,000 suits, they're writing books. All of a sudden they became a media spectacle. And then and then they also found a way, this can help with fundraising, because recognizability, because that is how people vote. They recognize, a lot of people vote. So, but my thing is that I don't think the majority of people, I think they know what is told to them. So if they went to school and the school system doesn't teach them about, how our government works, that's one thing. The other thing is that anything they get on TV, YouTube, is being fed to them by who's ever feeding it to them. So if they're ignorant to how this whole system works, where can they get it? And then, but where's it coming from? And that's where you start to go, well, I think sometimes the government wants to perceive all of us as ignorant. But I think is that the two things, the worst thing they could have done for politics is put them on TV, because this is the monster that's been created. Now, politics takes up a tremendous amount of space. And then it also infiltrates in, these ideologies infiltrates into our culture. But at the same time, with this whole Trump thing, I also see that the glass is cracking a little bit. And that's why I listened peripherally for a lot of the shenanigans with Trump, because the night of the election, I was not that interested, because everybody said Clinton was going to win by 95%. And then I just turned it on like at 9:00 at night, which is late because we're on the West Coast. And everybody's with big eyes going, too close to call, too close to call. I'm like, what the heck's going on? And then flipping the channel between 3 different cable channels, the presenters or the news people, who I thought were news people, were shocked and appalled. They were shocked and appalled this was happening, because everybody was shocked by it. That's when I realized something in the Matrix has changed, and now we have to watch. So what I'm hoping is that more people are going to tune into what they're showing us, which is who they really are, which is we've been a little bit manipulated. And I'm hoping people go, oh, so I can't believe everything that people tell me anymore. And that's kind of my thing. Because there were publications that there was no reason for me not to believe them anymore. And now when something comes down, I look and go, maybe that happened. I don't know. And that's sad to me.
I don't believe anybody.
Okay. Anyway, so we weren't going to talk about politics, and look what happened.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did we get back on politics?
So I know it's just so funny, because people go, you just didn't even give opinion. It's like, what opinion can I give? I'm one person. I can't change anything, but I can see it. And I also can grant the public. I don't think the majority of the public, no matter what their educational level, is ignorant to it. But I do know that politicians and the press pull well below 10% in terms of whoever answers it says that in trust. So I think that's where the Matrix is breaking down, is that all of a sudden you go, keep telling us stuff that, because someday this is going to be the rub. Someday something really true is going to happen and really bad, and no one's going to believe you. And then what? We're going to be left on our own, which is a good thing.
Yep.
Leave us to our own devices. And scene.
Yeah.
That's my monster take
on politics.
Yes. Don't consume it too much of it. Be very skeptical. You can be a little cynical, but just stay in the middle.
Yep. I don't even like talking about it.
Well, I'm going to keep talking about what you don't like. Every single week, with the exception of the week I missed, I make you uncomfortable. Ryan, I want to confront you on that. I want to make you, More
See,
uncomfortable.
oh no,
Let's get Ryan uncomfortable.
I just don't have anything to say about it really. And
What would you like
so
to talk about then? Let's talk
the
about what you want to talk
well,
about.
we could talk about the total destruction of the movie industry. Good lord.
Didn't we already talk about that?
No, we haven't talked about that at all.
Oh, you did. Yeah, I'm sorry. When you used the umbrella of Hollywood, I was like, oh yeah,
No, I'm talking
movies.
about like cuz like everybody is doing because of like the lockdown and everything, like
Yes.
Hollywood has been focused all on the streaming services and everything
Oh
like that.
right.
And so all
Excuse
of the
me.
movies that are in the box office are just like the drop off is just awful. Like everything's like just kind of imploding, like because they're releasing it in the theaters the same day they're
I
releasing it
know.
online. And so like Black Widow has had the poorest performance of any Marvel movie that's ever been like put out so far. Space
Yeah.
Jam 2 is gonna lose like $100 million, like because China, like they were planning on getting it into China, but China won't let it in, and so it's totally tanking. Like
I didn't hear
uh
that. No.
yeah, like so the all like the movie, a lot of the movie Snake Eyes, which I have two things I'll talk about on Snake Eyes, like the GI Joe movie that came out. Like
Hmm.
it's tanking, but and one of the reasons it's not doing so well is because like they made a Snake Eyes movie that wasn't about Snake Eyes, and
Oh
like
my gosh.
it's so and like it's totally, and it sucks because people are going to try and put it on the racially diverse cast for it, but when it's the story, like nobody cares that Snake Eyes is Asian, like even though in the cartoon and comics he's a white dude. Nobody cares. Like, I mean, some people care about the race, about the tokenization, the race swapping. Some people care about that, but most people don't care. They just wanted a good story. But from all of the reviews and everything that's come out, like the movie isn't even actually about Snake Eyes. Like it's just a ninja movie that they called Snake Eyes. And so it's just pissed off all of the GI Joe fans, like for it. And so, and speaking of that era, like everyone my age, we've had our whole childhood and teenage years just crushed within the last week, like between the Snake Eyes movie
Mhm.
coming out and with what happened with the new Masters of the Universe cartoon
Mhm.
that just came out. And not only like, because not only, okay, first of all, like I watched it, the animation and the production on it is amazing. Like the fight scenes, like everything is beautiful, like the characters all look great, like it looks really cool, but it's awful. Like it's one of the worst things I've seen. Like
But don't you
they
think? I'm
uh,
sorry. Go ahead.
and so it, and it's not because like the show is about Tila, which is a girl. Actually was kind of excited to get a Tila show, but the Tila is not Tila. Like the main character, they made her insufferable.
Hmm.
Like the most likable character is on the new, for me, the most likable character in the new Masters of the Universe cartoon is Evil Lynn. Like
Oh,
evil
geez.
fucking Lynn is the like best character on, like she's the least annoying character in the whole show. Like she's the most like how is Evil Lynn more likable than Tila? And like
Well, right. So the thing though is that the that I'm my guess. This is from a business point of view. There are going to be shows in the next year or two that are collateral damage for the
yeah, and
business
this is
show because everything media does, they overdo,
yeah, and
right?
to
So
top
it's
it
like,
off,
right.
like the
Mhm.
nail in all of it with that is that Kevin Smith did it. Like
That is,
everyone
yeah.
my age, like we're huge Kevin Smith fans, and we're like, how, like you don't
But
have to
think
like
about it, right?
He-Man, but
Right. But think about it is that he didn't
like
pocket, he didn't put his whole money up in that movie.
no,
So
no,
he,
it's he
yeah,
got
right,
paid for it. He
right,
did
right.
it. Like he took the check and was like, fuck He-Man, and like
Well, and then, but right. So, but
and did
I
and
I wasn't there, but I imagine there were there were guidelines to how this needed to be presented, because there is, and there are, I see it in like,
He also
yeah,
lied about a lot of stuff that
oh,
came out with the like there were a lot of spoilers that came out with the show, and then like he
yeah.
kept starting shit with YouTubers.
Oh, well,
Like,
what you hear a
and
lot now
so
is
that's kind of what all
right,
made it worse. Like, if he would have just kept his mouth shut
right,
and just not really agitated
right.
everything, it it wouldn't
But
have been as bad. But he kept poking YouTubers, and it's
that's
like, come
weird.
on, dude,
Well,
you're
yeah, he got to put it
like,
down. But here's the thing: when you just talk about business, not as, and it's weird to have a like the
well,
Marvel franchise,
but it's like
right?
like everyone like the Rotten Tomato like it's not a success, and
Right.
so they're
Well,
gonna lose money like on
which
it.
means what? Right. So that's the business of show, is that you, like I said, there's a collateral damage, and then at some point there, it's going to be uh,
Yeah,
just insidious in. It's all of a sudden, because you, when you have, I think it was, yeah, all these old famous directors saying, yeah, you couldn't make that movie now. You couldn't make that movie now. You, like Martin Scorsese, you couldn't make that movie now, because the studio, they're afraid to spend the money because they're afraid of whatever backlash they have in the showbiz community. So guess what? So now we have what the media and showbiz, that's, so they're putting it out to the public, and it's the public that decides. And you know what, honestly, you kept us locked down for a year and a half, and if I have my choice to go here or go into an enclosed building wearing a mask, why wouldn't I just watch it on my couch? So
yeah.
it's a, so that whole thing of going, and I get the studio too. I'm telling you, Ryan, these guys are, these bean counters in big business are way smarter than I are, than I am. But I would think they know there is going to be collateral damage, because they made the decision to release on the same day, right? Like
Yeah,
release to
and I
video
think they're real.
or
I think
streaming.
they're realizing that I like that they might not need to do that because they're losing out on repeat viewers. Like,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of people that probably would have seen Black Widow more than once.
But there's also a fan base that says that will forgive a mistake,
And so, and there are
right?
also, and
But it
there's
is,
also
I know they,
very
I'm
ravenous fans that forget nothing.
right. I know, like you, that you just ruined your
The
childhood. But
No,
I'm saying, right,
my childhood is still intact. Like the new Masters of the Universe has nothing to do with my opinion
good,
of the classic He-Man. Like
good.
I like it. I think it's goofy. It's stupid. Like I will like yeah, I've been known to watch it like every
Mhm.
once in a
But
while.
the thing though,
Laugh my
right?
ass
So,
off.
but it's going to go up one of two ways. It's going to be like this, because their market is right,
Is
17 to
well,
25-year-old male.
they kill
That's right,
He-Man twice. In the master, they kill him 2 times. They like in the first episode, he doesn't even get to finish
right,
a full
right.
episode before
Hey,
they
and let
kill
me
him,
just say this as
and then
a
they kill
woman
him
of,
at the
right.
end.
Let me just say this as a woman of age. At least you have movies that are made for you. There's no movies made for me.
The what do you mean?
Yeah,
What
in
kind of
terms
movies did you
of
want?
um there's, I want movies that, I don't want rom-coms. Rom-coms aren't my thing, but I like movies, suspense movies. But all you, now it's just majority movies out there are action movies, right? And they're all, and then even
I
worse, it's the
guess.
sequel to the sequel to the sequel. But these big blockbusters, because the the business of show, investors and people put their money into it. It's, they're doing it not for like, oh, let's create art. They're doing it to make money. What? But there's these entire lifetime franchises that are going to say, look, we're going to accommodate what we think the public wants, and that's what we're going through right now. And then we're going to try it different ways, because that's the innovation of it. Because they, yes, what in the heck can a movie studio do? We have sent people for the last, what, 10, 15 years, we've been streaming, we've been sending people to their phone. I think I have an iPhone 11, I'm not sure the number, but I can watch a lot of videos very happily. I watched a movie the other night on it, and I was satisfied just because my iPad lost its charge. But it's it's like, really, what's going to get me, unless it's a big action movie, right? That would look better on a bigger screen or on IMAX. Is that it's kind of the industry kind of trying to look into the future to say,
Yeah.
people, why would they go?
I like a good drama in the theater too.
Yeah, I like a good
because
drama.
I'm more likely to sit still and pay
Mhm.
attention at a movie
Yeah,
theater than I am at home. Like for
right.
some stuff, because a lot of things I'll just be like, ah, fuck, I'll turn it off and I'll
But
forget to
statistically,
watch it
movies
again
are
later.
made for young people. So all the scary movies, the horror movies, and the of
Those are
course the
super cheap to make too.
oh,
Like that's
but
one of the reasons why they make so
right,
many of them is because the
but
production cost of them is
but
fairly low.
remember, young people may not remember this, but the renaissance of independent film was someone just putting together these films before they became part of Hollywood. Independent films were for people who they would never be able to make a Hollywood movie. And then they got really, and then Hollywood went in and said, wow, we can make a ton of money off these movies. A director who wrote it, such as, what was the Billy Bob Thornton's movie, his first movie?
I don't know if
Sling Blade.
that wasn't his first movie though.
But that was an independent movie that he made $1 gazillion off of,
Yeah,
right?
because there's, I mean, and that's always the
Or
thing with a lot of
yeah,
independent and lower budget films is that with the proper push or whatever, people will see it and
right.
it can make money. And there's also a lot of movies that didn't necessarily do well in the theaters, but in box off, like when it got released on DVD and
Mhm.
and everything like that,
But
people
in
saw
the
it and
beginning, right,
would get
it was
large cult
right,
followings with it. Like Army of Darkness, like those old Bruce Campbell movies and
right. But
stuff.
in the beginning of indie movies, especially if you live in the metropolitan area, and I do live near the San Francisco Bay Area, there'd be a lot of movies, and then they would grow their screen presence by word of mouth and by ticket sales. And they can go like, we sold out San Francisco, we sold out Berkeley, we sold out Oakland. We're taking it all over. And so in these increments, this is before it became what I call Hollywood. And now you fast forward it. Now people are going to, Sundance to showcase their movies. And then all these big, huge Hollywood people are coming in to try and get it, to kind of to have both best of both worlds, have that indie flavor to it, but to make a gazillion dollars the Hollywood way. Because who ends up making more money? Not the original, but
Well,
anyway,
that only works if you're able to get it into theaters.
or into Sundance. Yeah,
No,
but right,
like
but
that's the purpose of Sundance is to get a wide distribution.
absolutely
And so, but you can't distribute anything right now.
right. Or that, and then, but remember the movie Napoleon? I don't think Napoleon went to Sundance.
Napoleon.
Remember Napoleon Dynamite?
Oh yeah. I don't know if that did or not.
Because my daughter was young, and she
Yeah, I
got
was
it
in
through the internet,
college. I was in college.
and she said, please. And it wasn't what we had to go like 2 towns over to find it. It wasn't playing anywhere in the Bay Area. We had to go to a different county.
There was a
Right.
really good independent theater in I was living in Knoxville, Tennessee,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
around the time that came out. There's a really good independent theater that in Knoxville that played a lot of movies like that. Like there was a couple of Wes Anderson movies that came out throughout there that
I love Wes Anderson.
that showed there. Oh yeah, I mean
That's the kind of movie I like. Wes Anderson. I like.
he
Yeah.
yeah he
The Paul
he's-
is it Paul Anderson? There will be blood.
Yeah,
the
P.T.
guy,
Anderson.
Paul Thomas.
Yeah,
Anderson.
Wes Anderson, P.T. Anderson. The
Coen brothers.
one of the best movies, or one of the movies I've liked most recently, like an independent movie, was Sorry to Bother You, the Boots Collins movie.
Is that good?
Oh, it's so good. But I also like really weird, like independent movies. Like it's kind of an odd premise, and then it gets weirder and weirder. Like it kind of reminds me of a little bit of Terry Gilliam. Like,
Oh, cool.
are you
Yeah.
familiar with him? Like,
Monty Python? What are you, crazy?
yeah,
Of
yeah.
course.
Like, well, I know him from like Time Bandits
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
Fear and Loathing. Like, cause his
Right.
movies start out kind of normal, and then they get weird, and then
Hmm.
they get weirder, and then it gets weirder, and then you're like, okay, this movie isn't gonna get weirder, and then he makes it even
Yeah.
weirder. I
There's two
love his
great
stuff.
indie movies from what I call the beginning. One is The Station Agent, and then uh, two. At one time there were it girls for the actresses that always seemed to be the leading roles in these independent movies, and I'm drawing a blank, but she was in The Station Agent, and the other movie. Oh my gosh, and the girl's name was April. Maybe it was April, but two just and that's kind of the movies I like. Stories of real people experiencing like real life things, and I'm gonna have to. I'll look it up, and you maybe it should or not, but uh the Station Agent, it's just like people being brought together by circumstances and their regular life circumstances, like the station. Who's the guy, famous guy in Lord of not the Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones? Peter, what's his actor? Okay, he he was on it. I don't know the character because I didn't watch Game of
I
Thrones.
didn't. I watched the first
Yeah,
2 seasons of it, and then I'm one
yeah.
of the few people that like I started season 3. I don't know, like I didn't have HBO, so it took
Hmm.
effort for me to watch. And
Right.
then the newer episodes that I saw, like I didn't like it enough to
Hmm.
like invest the effort
Right.
it took into like trying to
Yeah.
find the episodes.
Got it. Well, the Station Agent, what I loved about it in its simplicity is it's about a guy who takes a job as a station agent in the middle of a very small town America. And he really wants to be left alone. He doesn't want to be bothered. But then people who live around there check in like, oh, like a good neighbor, or the lonely guy who hangs out and he sees somebody there and he really doesn't want to be bothered. And then life things happen where the woman who's the friend of the guy who won't be bothered, she comes over once, and then you can see that he's a little bit attracted to her, but he's still focused on wanting to be isolated because this world has not been fair to him. But just really intricate real dialogue. And then I think it's called Pieces of April. That's the
I've seen that
second
one.
one. Piece of April. And that isn't that with the young girl who lives in the apartment and her parents, and then and
Yeah,
Katie,
something
it's
I
Katie
don't.
something, right?
Yeah, the chick from Dawson's Creek.
But she's also the one that married Tom Cruise, I think. Katie Holmes.
Yeah,
But it
Dawson's
was
Creek.
Katie Holmes played in a role that was atypical. She was kind of like the all-American, girl next door character, and then she plays this role, but it's her mother, and then that whole story about just the uniqueness of people, what makes them happy, and then of course surrounding family and friends who think somebody's either happy or not happy based on how they view they should be, and that her trying to have Thanksgiving for her family because she was estranged from them and trying to say, I've got my life together now. Anyway, I thought those are great movies, which I want to look up because I would like to see them. It's been a long time. But
Yeah, a lot of
those
the
movies, yeah,
independent movies from like
the
early like
90s.
oh, I thought that was early 2000s.
Oh, maybe.
Like early 2000s to like mid 2012, 2015. Like a lot of the independent, there were a lot of good movies like that. Tom Waits is in a lot of really fun
Oh, yeah.
movies like that.
Then, yeah. And then, but so I don't know. I think because the choices just for, I would say my generation, it would be the rom-com and or the movies with um, Jack Nicholson, all the Jack Nicholson movies. Not that they were bad. I mean, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was an amazing movie, but kind of like the rom-com of the old guy with the 26-year-old girl, and how they make things work. But anyway, I just really appreciate independent because I also fantasize behind the scene how hard it was for that artist to make that movie.
The
And
well,
and that's the rebel in me to go, you don't have to go by the beat of one drum, and then to put it all on the line for that
hard
movie.
is a
Yeah.
weird term, like because there's more freedom with the
Yeah.
lower budget. Like there's really more freedom with the lower
I,
budget movies, like because you actually
right.
there's more creativity that you have to use to
Right.
try and figure out how to work within the budget, but also you don't have some executive sitting over your shoulder telling you how you have to do things. And
That
so
isn't that the trade-off though, right? That's
and
the trade-off
so
with your
for
art
me,
because
like, I think doing a major motion picture would actually be harder because you have to put up with a whole bunch of extra bullshit. Like, yeah, there might be
Right.
some challenges doing like an independent film, but if
Right.
you are getting it funded and are able to do it, like, I don't
And like
feel
you
like
get
it's
right.
as hard because it's a passion, and it's
Right. But
like
if you think about it, it's like Martin Scorsese won't do a film with notes. And you go, well, yeah, you've earned that place, right? And he's got people that will back him. And also Martin Scorsese is a sellable commodity. His movies are.
Mm.
And he always has people in them, that are always, people always want to see that genre of movie. But who is going to be the Martin Scorsese of the future who could make a movie? Because what I will say, when I say hard, it's not that part of the artistic part of it. It's how do you make a movie that doesn't look like you filmed it from your phone, that has the shots you want,
you can actually
has
get
the
some
dialogue
good
you want,
footage nowadays on your phone.
right? But right. So, and then how many artists do you know that have even enough money to support themselves, let alone? And then how many people do you know that are going to work for free to be in a movie? Because right, and then you go minimal 1,000, 100,000, minimal 500,000. How many artists do you know who have $2,000? That's what I mean. And that's kind of like the balance and the trade-off. Is that now there are, so we all heard the stories of people making films on credit cards and on their parents and then those, can you imagine how many people have been doing it for 20 years we'll never hear of? They're just broke.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're trying to break in. But yeah, it's interesting.
I've got a couple friends that have done that.
But that's, and then going all the way back to the beginning, because I know we're probably hit our hour mark, but
Yep.
Go back to the beginning is I mark my words for the 80 trillion people that are watching us is the slate has been wiped clean. And I think we're going to see some really interesting, innovative ways in which we view entertainment, and how that people are going to start not going back to the old thing, but I think there's going to be a mix of the new technology, the new ideas, but also the new ideas are going to blend in with some of the things, and then look at the audiences that have been completely removed. So I'm not saying do movies for old people like me, but maybe do movies that really reflect, because those movies seem to be more successful. Of course, this is outside the franchise model, but stories that are that people can connect with, they seem to be more popular.
Yep, which is a good segue into my closing. For the yeah, so support creator-owned arts and works. So like people like me, go to like support people who are doing it on their own. There are a lot of people out there that are making stuff on their own. There's a lot of independent comic book artists, creator-owned comic artists that definitely need support. I'm trying to do that in animation. So yeah, go.
People doing their own video games on Twitch. People creating
and
their
so
own scripts, their own music.
Support creator-owned stuff.
If you like it, support it.
Yeah, and speaking of supporting, you see all of our things on the screen. I put a new one up, and you didn't even notice, Rita. I did all the hard work. I did all this hard work.
You put one at the bottom.
I redid the
Rita and
I
Ryan.
rearranged other stuff. Like I actually shifted the colors around a little bit.
Let me tell you what this is how this all started and why I didn't notice, and I was shocked and appalled. While we were setting up, that's my box was completely blank. Yeah. And then Ryan had to blow it up and put it down. And so then all of a sudden he goes, now we're rolling. So this is the very first time I really looked at it. And you spelt my small business podcast incorrectly. Did you notice that? Made you look.
I was going to say where. I didn't change the spelling of those. Like, I just...
No, but I see at Rita Ryan Podcast, at
yep.
Rita... Why did you... Oh, you've got yours in there too, right?
Yep, at the very end. So, yeah, there's all of our Twitters, so you can actually follow the show on Twitter.
Maybe I will be nameless and I'll have a symbol for my name and I'll just be Small Business Podcast.
like Prince.
I could never be Prince. There's only one Prince.
There is only one.
But
Prince.
I mean, not a symbol Prince, but is that?
Yes. Let's end it on that. There's only one Prince.
There's only one Prince.
There's
Bye,
only one
everyone.
Prince.
Thank you for
Bye.
listening and watching. Bye.
Bye.